unfortunately, you cannot be both cool and profitable. I can make an argument that cool doesn't really have a definition because it changes depending on the person, right? Like it depends on like where you grew up, who you hang around, depends on what your niche interests are, what kind of things that you are going to think are cool. But if I had to make a kind of generalization, I would say that cool is about effortless. It's number one, it's effortless, and number two, it's kind of messy. There's something cool about being clean and organized and perfect. It's kind of the reason why the whole clean girl aesthetic, it can mean it's a lot of things, but one of the things that it's not is cool. Charli XCX dropped new music about a month ago, and it's being received kind of lukewarmish with people, right? She dropped that single Rock Music, and it has a kind of like a very alternative sound, right? Like you have to be a particular kind of person to really see the appeal of it. And there's a conversation happening about like whether she is going back to flopping or not. And dare I say that I think that she is going back to flopping, but I think that it's extremely intentional. I think I would make the argument that Charli XCX understands the art of being cool in a way that I don't think there's anybody else on earth who understands it the way that she does. And I think that she understands that you cannot be both profitable and cool. Like thinking back on her Brat era and how cool that was, and part of the reason why the Brat era blew up the way that it did was because it was super cool, right? And the minute that it blew up and like corporations got involved in the fun and like all of these other things, it became very mainstream, right? Like almost everyone knew about it. Even if you didn't listen to music, you knew about the Brat era and all of it. And the minute that it became mainstream, it stopped being cool. And that's the thing about it, especially with social media, is that the minute that corporations get involved, it stops being fun. It's no longer fun. Okay, joke's over. It's over. I think Charli XCX at the end of that Brat era was posed this important question, which was time to make new music, which is, would you like to continue to go on to be one of the biggest pop stars in the entire world, or would you like to remain cool? And she chose cool instead. Because there is nothing truly cool about being mainstream. I think this argument is the reason why Olivia Rodrigo's entire rebrand into like this little punk rock thing is not working, right? Because punk rock is about going against the system, right? Punk rock is about fighting the power. It's about going against a man. And you can't really do that as a multimillionaire. You can't be both one of the biggest pop stars in the entire world and then truly be edgy. And obviously it goes back to this idea that people love an aesthetic but don't really care about the meaning behind the aesthetic, and the idea of punk rock and kind of alternative music and alternative clothing, all of that was a way to rebel against institutions. It was a form of revolution. If you, as one of the biggest pop stars in the entire world, have your pockets aligned with corporations, then you can't make yourself the face of these kinds of movements. You never can, no matter how much you try and steal that aesthetic. It'll always feel authentic. It won't ever land. I think Charli XCX is acutely aware of this, and from someone who has been in the industry for as long as she has and has been on the other side of what it's like when people think that you're not cool, she's like, I'm never fucking going back there. There's not enough money in the entire world that will take me back there. Because she understands the universal truth that most artists don't understand, is that being the most commercially successful artist in the entire world is not, in fact, a legacy, because someone will show up tomorrow and will outsell you tomorrow. But instead, being a controversial figure that is a little bit hated by certain people, whose music is kind of misunderstood by the general population, but the people who do get it are like obsessed with it. Like, oh my God, we love it so much, right? As time progresses, people who are fans of her, people who like her music, people who get her alternative sounds will then be looked at as cool for understanding cool music. And then her legacy will be that she's cool. I feel like think about it the same exact way that they make band t-shirts from bands in the 70s and the 80s and that people wear now to this day, right? And like, you're so cool if you have this t-shirt on. You're so cool if you understand this music and like this band and you understand their history because they were so punk rock, and it makes like they were so cool that by you being a fan of them, it makes you cool in exchange. I think in 30 years, kids are going to talk about Charli XCX in that way. In the same exact way you talk about Led Zeppelin or like Guns N' Roses. As someone who's been in the industry for as long as she has, and she also then married somebody who's also in the industry, so they're both relatively wealthy, she no longer cares about money, she cares about legacy, and her legacy is going to be that she's cool. I think an easier way to kind of compare this is when you make the argument about influencers, right? And someone will be like, hey, your favorite influencer is an influencer with like 5,000 followers, right? Like the coolest person making the coolest content on this app and on all apps in general will be somebody with like 5,000 followers in this very niche, even like small community that they're sharing their stuff with. And the reason why is because an influencer with 5,000 or 6,000 followers can't be cool. Doesn't matter what their life is like, does not matter what they do, they can't actually be cool, right? Every other post on their page is going to be some kind of ad, it's going to be some kind of paid partnership. They align themselves with corporations, and the price that you pay for that is that you sell off your cool. And instead, you have these niche influencers who are not bound by the rules of corporate America, right? Because they don't belong to a corporation. The corporation doesn't have them in their pocket, and they can post and do whatever they want. And then their lives look so effortless. Their lives look so cool when they're posting videos. It's the most interesting shit you've ever seen. I know it's a weird comparison, but that's what I would compare Charli XCX to, right? This idea of like she being somebody who blew up and now has all of these followers and all these corporations on her pocket, and has now figured out the formula to make an album that is successful, to make an album that people want to listen to. And then she realizes like, oh my God, if I'd like to be profitable, if I'd like to make more money, I need to sell off my cool, right? Like corporations, I have to align myself with corporations, and corporations suck the cool out of everything. And she's like, I just don't think it's worth the risk. I don't want to do it. Like it's too high of a price to pay. Like I actually don't need the money. I'd rather be a flop. I would like to be cool forever.